beautiful.
In The Departed, the chilling moment where Costello shoots a woman and casually comments on how she falls wasn't in the script.
Jeez, she fell funny.
According to Matt Damon, it was Nicholson's idea to make the victim a woman and add that unsettling detail, believing it would reveal just how desensitized and twisted Costello really is.
Jeez, she fell funny.
In There's Something About Mary, the scene where Ben Stiller gets dropped by the paramedics while being loaded into the ambulance wasn't planned. It was a real accident. The stretcher slipped, the crew broke character laughing, and the directors loved it so much they kept the hilarious moment in the film. In Tropic Thunder, the scene where Tug talks to a flying mantis got funnier when the bug flew right into his face by accident. Ben Stiller stayed in character, and it worked so well they decided to keep it in the movie.
You're beautiful.
In A League of Their Own, John Lovitz was trying to deliver his lines on a noisy farm when the cows wouldn't stop mooing. Completely fed up, he fired off a line in character that wasn't in the script, and it was so perfectly timed they kept it in the final cut.
Will you shut up?
In The Princess Diaries, Mia accidentally sets a guest's sleeve on fire during the chaotic state dinner. The flames were supposed to go out in the ice bucket, but they didn't. Anne Hathaway genuinely panicked and threw water on him.
And that's their princess.
In Young Frankenstein, Gene Hackman improvised the now iconic espresso line, catching everyone off guard, including director Mel Brooks, who laughed so hard he immediately decided to keep it in the final cut.
Where are you going? I was gonna make espresso.
In Mr. Nanny, there's a bizarre background moment that has puzzled viewers for years. As Hulk Hogan rides his motorcycle down a highway, a man in the distance can be seen picking up a dog and throwing it into the ocean. The man wasn't an extra or part of the crew. He just happened to be there, and the strange act was accidentally caught on film. In Deep Impact, during the school assembly scene, the line where a student bluntly tells Leo he'll be getting lots of texts now that he's famous wasn't in the script. It was improvised on the spot.
You're gonna have a lot more now than anyone else in our class.
Push down on it!
What?
Push it down!
In Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Star-Lord's unexpected F-bomb to Nebula wasn't in the script. James Gunn told Chris Pratt to throw it in during filming, and the take was so funny that they decided to keep it in the final cut.
Now what?
Open the f***ing door!
In Groundhog Day, after Phil smashes the radio, it strangely keeps playing I Got You, Babe. The radio was supposed to stop, but it didn't. And the glitch created such a darkly funny moment that director Ramis decided to leave it in. In A Knight's Tale, the scene where Chaucer gives a rousing speech to a silent crowd wasn't planned that way. It was actually a happy accident.
In the garden of his turbulence!
Most of the extras were from the Czech Republic and didn't speak English, so they missed the cue to cheer after the speech. Mark Addy quickly improvised to cover the awkward moment, and the director found it so funny that he decided to keep it in. In Men in Black, Will Smith improvised a hilarious one-liner after the rooftop scene, and it was so perfect they left it in the movie.
It'd just be raining black people in New York.
In Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, during the musical number, several muscle men dive over Jane Russell into a pool. One of them accidentally knocks her in, and this moment made it into the final cut. He even tried to claim credit for choreography for the mishap, which was pretty bold, but it didn't work out for him. In The Fellowship of the Ring, when Gandalf visits Bilbo at Bag End, Ian McKellen was meant to bump into the low-hanging lanterns. But when he turned and smacked his head on a ceiling beam, that part was completely accidental. It looked so natural that they left it in.
The two Utes.
To what?
In My Cousin Vinny, the iconic two Utes exchange wasn't originally in the script. It actually came from a real conversation between Joe Pesci and the English director, who was confused by Pesci's thick Brooklyn accent.
To what?
What?
Did you say Utes?
Yeah, two Utes.
What is a Ute?
When Pesci explained he meant youths, they both realized the misunderstanding was too perfect not to include.
Excuse me, Your Honor. Two youths.
In Raiders of the Lost Ark, the iconic moment where Indy casually shoots the flashy Cairo swordsman wasn't in the script. Harrison Ford was so sick that day he couldn't manage the complex fight scene, so he joked, "Why don't I just shoot him?" They tried it, and it became one of the most legendary moments in movie history. In a scene from James Cameron's director's cut of The Abyss, a crowd on the beach is waiting for a big tidal wave. However, one guy is more focused on pulling down his friend's pants than being scared about the wave. In Napoleon Dynamite, when Napoleon awkwardly tumbles over a fence, that wasn't acting. John Heder really fell during the take, and it was so perfectly in character they kept it in the final cut. In Rocky, when Gazzo pulls out an inhaler mid-conversation with Rocky, it wasn't in the script. Joe Spinell was having a real asthma flare-up and used it on the spot. The director thought it felt so natural. He kept it in the final cut. In Office Space, the moment where Michael gets confused by the printer error wasn't in the script. David Herman had no idea what PC load letter meant and blurted out the now iconic line out of genuine frustration.
PC load letter? What the f does that mean?
In Austin Powers and Goldmember, during the fountain scene, Austin's stream suddenly starts sputtering like a broken sprinkler. It wasn't planned. The water cannon malfunctioned mid-take, but it looked so ridiculous and perfectly on brand that the crew burst out laughing and decided to leave it in the movie. In The Princess Diaries 2, right after Mia and Andrew share a kiss, the scene randomly cuts to a goat that moos like a cow. According to the DVD commentary, it was a total accident, but the filmmakers kept it in because something that odd would absolutely fly in Genovia. In Airplane, a passenger's fake beard was supposed to fly off for laughs during the scene where a gust of wind blows through the cabin. But the glue held too well, so instead of breaking character, the actor started making wild faces to try and shake it loose, which ended up being even funnier and made the final cut. In Star Wars: A New Hope, the moment when Luke and Han turned to face the wrong direction as the elevator doors opened wasn't scripted. Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford came up with the gag on set. In The Avengers, when Loki blasts a German police car, it was supposed to flip, but instead, it skidded forward on its front bumper by accident. It looked so intense and cinematic that they kept it in. In The Fellowship of the Ring, during the emotional scene where Sam chases after Frodo's boat, Sean Astin stepped on a sharp rock and badly cut his foot, causing him to briefly disappear underwater. What started as a real injury ended up adding drama to the moment, so they kept it in and had Frodo dive back in to save him. In Freaky Friday, during the scene where Harry gets underwear pulled over his head, Ryan Malgarini genuinely thought the door in front of him was open and ran straight into it. The reaction was so real and funny they decided to leave it in the movie. In Follow That Camel, Jim Dale accidentally dropped a heavy rifle on Kenneth Williams' foot instead of the sand, cutting through his boot. The pain you see on screen is completely real. For Scary Movie, director Keenan Ivory Wayans gave the cast plenty of freedom to play. Shannon Elizabeth recalled him saying, "We'll shoot the script first, then go wild. I'll use whatever's funniest, and I'll take the credit for it."